Okay. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Metal Magdalene with Jet right here on Metal Messiah Radio. Tonight, we are honored to have a very special guest with us. Tonight, we have Mr. Jeff Becerra of Possessed. Welcome to the show, Jeff.
Hello, Jet. How's it going?
It's going great. Okay, Jeff, this is going to take a while. Let's go back to when you were a teenager. Growing up in California, what were the bands that influenced you back then? Like bands that you looked up to and were like, man, I want to be like that.
Well, we'd have to go back to even preteens on that. I mean, we'd have to even go to preteens to really get into what influenced me. I mean, I don't know if everybody's like this, but growing up, you'd rummage through the house, on your off days, and I'd always get into my dad's record collection, and he had like a lot of '50s stuff, like everything from like Chuck Berry to all the '50s icons, to Buddy Holly to Jerry Lee Lewis, Fats Domino, and Elvis Presley, of course. I was really into that kind of stuff, and I started playing. My parents made me take guitar lessons when I was 5, and I used to hate it. But
how old were you? How old were you when they made you start taking lessons?
5
wow,
years
you're
old.
A baby. Mm-hmm. Wow.
And so, I started out with classical guitar, and then moved into rock and roll, and I was trying to play like Chuck Berry and do Elvis stuff. And then later on, I got into to other stuff. I won't go through the whole lexicon, but everything from ELO to Fleetwood Mac to Blaze to Cult, and then later on, like of course, Rainbow and Black Sabbath and Deep Purple and stuff like that. That really made an influence in Gamma and some of the local bands out there like Sammy Hagar and Ronnie Montrose and Y&T.
Oh yeah.
And then stuff like that. I think my first concert was like Blackfoot, Marauder, and
wow.
Go down the Greens and see like Van Halen and. Back then, the late 70s, early 80s, all the bands like that. But I think that Black Sabbath really, really made a huge influence on my life. And then, of course, later on when like thrash and Metallica came around, they kind of changed the scene. I saw them before they did recorded the Kill 'Em All album. And that really changed my life, and they were doing a whole new thing. And of course, I grew up friends with Gary Holt from Exodus. He got us our first show. I think I was like 14 or 15 at Alvarado Park with Outrage and Exodus and Blind Illusion, and then we just kind of kicked it off from there.
Oh, wow. So, Possessed, right? Getting into Possessed. Started out in San Francisco, right?
Well, first I was in Marauder, which changed into Blizzard, and that was... I met this guy, Mike Binder, in junior high, like 7th grade, and he played drums, and he needed a bass player, and so I was playing guitar, and so I picked up the bass to get in the band. That's how I first started playing bass,
And so you went to that band, right? So you went, like you said, you were in Blizzard, right? Went to Possessed. Now, like you said, they wanted you as a bassist, but when did you start taking over the vocals, too?
Well, I would do backup vocals. I'd always done backup vocals, and I'd write the music and the lyrics to some of the Blizzard songs and stuff, and so it just came, it was really organic because, while they were kind of established musicians, I was always trying to, a bass player really has to reach out to try to, you have to do something different to make a voice in a band, so you're not just doing rhythm. And so, I worked really hard to try to do that, and of course, I think I've always been really good with lyrics and, bass lines, and so it just kind of fit in pretty good that way, My sister went down to the local Fiataroni music store and put this C-Series bass on layaway for me. She paid $20 a month, and that's how I got my first bass.
Wow. So metal history, okay, Jeff? Now, metal history had it that really you created the death metal sound. I mean, you were the first to have these, like, guttural vocals. I mean, where does one even come up with that style of singing?
Well, I mean, I would be lying if I didn't say that, I loved, like, what Lemmy Kilmister was doing, and what a lot of the hardcore punk bands were doing back in the day, like, Agent Orange, TSOL, Dead Kennedys, stuff like that. And we really just, our whole intention from the first to the end was, and even now, was to try to just be heavier and faster than anything out there. And so we didn't feel that there was a name for that kind of music yet, because when it started coming out, it was really just different, and it was intentionally different. And because, back then there was a lot of hair bands and stuff that we were just really rebellious against, and being, big punk rock fans and just kind of angry teenagers at the time, we wanted to do something different. So we decided that, thrash metal, was Paul Bailoff was screaming his head off. There were bands that were screaming, just not at that kind of Cookie Monster level.
Right.
And so we said, we think that, whether it's black metal and thrash metal and speed metal, we're going to call ourselves death metal, because we really think what we're doing is something new.
And what were people's first reactions when they heard that coming out of your mouth?
Well, we had a lot of mixed reactions. I'd be lying if I didn't say a lot of it was very negative. Like people would laugh and make fun of us and walk out, point their fingers and cover their mouths and roll their eyes. and that just made us even, want to play heavier, We were just like, screw them, we're just going to keep playing heavy. And I didn't know that it would take off like it did. I don't think any of us knew that it would take off. We didn't know whether people would like it or not, but it was what we liked playing. And I guess we, just by being kind of selfish as musicians, it kind of grew into its own thing. And then more and more, we had, I had a lot of really loyal friends that I had helped start bands, and just grew up being friends with and partying and stuff, and they would come up and thrash in a pit, and it just kind of grew from there. We'd play just about every weekend at Ruthie's End out in the Oakland Berkeley border, which was like the bad part of town, and we'd go down there and play every weekend, and we just started to make a name little by little.
And, you guys, you are definitely legends. And if people ever get the chance, they need to check out the book, Choosing Death, The Improbable History of Death Metal and Grindcore. I mean, in that book, they have quotes from what we know of today as, metal legends, and all who were influenced by you, Jeff, and your vocals and the sound of your band. I mean, what did you think when you were hearing about how you influenced people like Death and Pestilence and Sepultura, Deicide, Morbid Angel, Cannibal Corpse, all those bands? I mean, some of these bands were even on a Possessed tribute album as well. This had to be an honor or something for you, I would assume.
Oh yeah, it was really flattering. I was, it's just a trip, because like I say, at first I didn't know whether it would take off or not. I had a lot of faith in what we were doing, but we didn't know if, the society would be ready for it, because, and we had toned it down a lot before the Seven Churches album. I mean, it used to be even heavier, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so it was already, for lack of a better word, commercialized by the time we got to Seven Churches, but it's really nice, especially since, it got almost more popular after the first, band kind of broke up. We broke up. Well, they left. They left me. So for that to take off and for that to, after I got hurt and came out of the hospital, to see that it was going so well, it was really flattering.
And, I want to talk a little bit about Chuck Schuldiner, too. Now, here's another perfect example. I mean, he relocated his band to California to write Scream Bloody Gore. And, I want to take a quote from the book, because this is in Chuck's words. Possessed was different from all the other bands who were coming out at the time. They weren't pure noise, and they attempted to incorporate a lot of different musical ideas into their songwriting, not just rehash the same thing. They were into progressing as a band, which paved the way for other groups to expand their sound and do different things. Now, I mean, Jeff, at least you knew people were paying attention to what you were doing, but did you feel that bands were trying to copy you, or that you were kind of breaking ground for others to follow?
I think that a lot of bands were definitely just really heavily influenced by us.
Mm-hmm.
Like on one hand, you feel like, I came up with something original, and for a lot of people, just they key off what we were doing, and
mm-hmm.
while they're not copying us. I think that with a lot of bands, you hear it, you think, I could do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Possessed was kind of one of those bands where people hear it, they liked it, it was something new and exciting, and they thought, I could do that, because it's not like, like the vocals, it's not like you're singing opera, you're yelling, and I think of a lot of bands, it's easier to pick up on, maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure. It's flattering. I think that, imitation is the most sincere form of flattery. So, of course, it's an honor. And in a lot of ways, because, death metal almost died, the kind of stuff we were doing, when the grunge came in, death metal in particular almost just went belly up. And so I was wanting, in my heart, I was wanting the genre and the stuff like I was doing to survive, to even survive. And so that it did, and now it's, a genre.
Thriving.
It's amazing.
You planted the seed, more or less, and man, has it been growing.
yeah, and that's a good thing. In my opinion, it's a good thing, because I think that death metal is, it's the coolest music out there still to this day.
I agree with you. And getting into your recording career a little bit more, too, when was it that, what point in time was it that you guys kind of caught the attention of Brian Slagle, and he put you on that well, CD? And I still love that song to this day, Swing of the Axe. I play it all the frickin' time.
Yeah. We put out, I remember we went out and we did a recording. We did a initial demo tape, and then let me see. I think we re-recorded some of that song. Well, we put out 90 tapes,
right?
And because before they were called Possessed, they were a garage band. For, I don't know, few years at least, and they had been playing in the garage for quite some time, and then, I guess within like 6 to 9 months after I got in, we were signed. We were signed to I went back and I basically put half the band together. I went back to Blizzard and got my old guitarist Larry, that I'd grown up playing since I was 12 with. Yeah. And then we really took off from there. And after those demo tapes came off, they just spread like wildfire. The underground back then was amazing. Even without the internet, because the internet wasn't really invented back then.
No.
So people would just make copies of tapes, and it just took off like wildfire. And somehow it caught the eye of Brian Slagle, and Brian Slagle asked us to be on that, and we were like, sure, yeah, that'd be great. So we did that, and I think some thing went off where he said that you got to do an album with us now, but we wanted to go to Combat. So if I remember right, he sued us for like $2,000 or something, and we paid that, and then went on to Combat, which was really good for us. And they ended up doing like these monster album layouts, and we at that time we were the highest grossing band on Combat.
Mm-hmm.
And so they really paid a lot of attention to us, and it was, we really got lucky. I mean, it went from, you got to remember, on Seven Churches, I was 16.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so was Seven Churches the first album that you did with Combat?
Yes, that was the very first album we did with Combat. There was Seven Churches, Beyond the Gates, and we did the EP,
right,
Eyes of Horror.
And things went so fast. I mean, you did Seven Churches, then the year later you did Beyond the Gates, and then you were doing you did the Eyes of Horror EP, and that kind of brought a thrashier sound to that, and that was produced by Joe Satriani. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That's really weird. I mean, how did that all come about?
Well, when Larry got the band, he was while he's a natural. We wanted to, we all wanted him to, clean up his chops. He wanted to clean up his chops, and so we financed his guitar lessons from Joe Satriani, he was like a local Bay Area legend back then. He wasn't really really well known like he was now. Mm-hmm. And he'd work with Steve Vai and a lot of the greats, and he was in a band called Berkeley Squares and with George Cole, and I still talk to him on Facebook. But so he was like the local guitar teacher. He also worked at Beyond Music, where I got my bass, and so we knew him as like the local guitar teacher. But he was up in Berkeley, and $20 a half an hour, anybody could, he had an ad in the paper.
Well, it's kind of cool, and it's a nice little piece of history. So really, at this point, Jeff, you already started touring then now all over the place. You got all this stuff, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you were in magazines, like I was telling you earlier before we started recording. I have some of the magazines in a pile over here. They're a little faded, but I still have them in there with you in there. I mean, you were because they don't have those same magazines like they do now. I mean, they have some, but it wasn't the same. Back then it was so...
on the side of black and white paper. Dittos, remember Dittos?
Yes! And it was so exciting. I mean, you would save up your money to buy magazines and tapes and stuff like that back then, but, I mean... Was it around this point where you guys, what was the state of the band at this point? Now you've got these, albums out. You really have this notoriety now. You're touring all over. You've got people wanting to do interviews. You've got magazines. Was it at this point that you guys, did you start did the partying really start picking up, and were you just really living the rock star life at this point?
Oh yeah, I was always loving the party, even through high school and the latter part of junior high, and it was back then everybody partied. That was just the way that we saw the older guys doing it, and the way that we did it, and it was a good time. We had a really good time. We used to, we had the band room with Possessed, and Metallica would come up, and Exodus would come up, and later on Slayer, and a lot of the bands would come up, and we'd have these big cake parties. And we had a really, really good time, and it was like we were young and wild, and it was fun, man. And it seemed like a really organic thing. Like I thought that's what everybody in a band did, because it was we were so young, and it just came on so fast and easy. It was just like. I never took it for granted. I always thought, I lived kind of a charmed life. But it was fun. We had a really, really good time,
And that was what bands did then.
Yeah.
That was definitely how it was so much different back then than it is now. Okay, Jeff, so the band, inevitably, kind of, you could tell us a little bit about this, but, from what we see in the outside world, outside of the Possessed world, kind of seemed like it disbanded and a little bit of a downward, spiral continued, when you had your injury in 90 that left you paralyzed. Everything changed.
That really broke up when the contract was over.
Did that all happen around the same time, though? It seems
as soon as our contract was over, I think that Mike really lost interest. They just, I know that Mike Seuss wanted to go to college, and Mike Terrell, he wanted to go back to working with his dad, and just basically, we came from a blue collar neighborhood, and that's what people did. You mess around when you're young, and then you move on and be a grown up. Well, I really, really wanted the band to keep going. Larry left to go to Blind Illusion, then later Primus, and then everybody just kind of said, this is getting too much for me, and it's time for us to move on and go to college, and I don't have time for this anymore. And it was really disappointing. I felt like we were just starting to get somewhere, but it was 20/20 hindsight. It worked out good because I always wanted to go to college too, and I wanted to have kids and do just the stuff that I would have to do so that I didn't wake up being the age I am now and just had done nothing but played in a death metal band, And I'm not saying that that's what everybody should do, but in my heart, that's what I wanted to do. I had to do the stuff that make me feel, like a man, and like I'd done my best in the world and educated myself, and I mean, from the way I thought back then to now, I'm really glad that I went to college and didn't just continue, just doing nothing but death metal,
And you not only went to college, but you got your degree too. That's a big thing for anybody, and people can't even afford to do that anymore. So it's a good thing you did that because you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I couldn't afford it either. But after I got shot, the government waived my tuition, so I went to junior college and made straight A's, and I was Alpha Gamma Sigma, one of like 20 gold robes, and then at San Francisco State, where I made straight A's and was in one of the Golden Key Honor Society, same as President Clinton and a bunch of other really famous people.
Wow.
I got a lifetime membership there and a little gold pin, and it was really fun, man. I mean, it was cool to expand my mind and get into stuff that you normally wouldn't get into.
Straight A student, so that means no partying in college.
No. I basically. For college, I quit, and of course, I don't drink or drug either. Right. So like I say, that was fun partying really hard when we were young, but then when you get older, you have responsibilities, and I don't just want to be wasted. I want to get into my music and really enjoy what I'm doing, and I think if people are paying $20-$30 sometimes to see you play, you should at least go out there and do a sober job.
Absolutely. And okay, so Jeff, you come back to the scene in 2007, so determined. I mean, you are the voice of Possessed. What was it that made you want to come back and pursue your passion?
Well, it started out with these guys from Sadistic Intent. They asked me to do a guest shot on that tribute album, right? Because I guess everybody was really wanting to be on that Possessed tribute album. They had Amon Amarth and Cannibal Corpse and Vader and all these really cool bands. And they were like, hey, they owned a record store out in East LA called Dark Realm Records, and they were like, and I was friends with them, and we'd been friends for a while, and Possessed, they were really, really like one of those bands that came out of the Possessed influence, Sadistic Intent, and they sounded a lot like us, and he said, we're going to do The Exorcist, what would you think about going and doing a guest shot? And I said, I was really tentative at first, and then I said, what the hell, right? So I talked my wife into coming out there with me. I was married at the time, and we went there and spent a few days just partying, and really, I was partying then. We were partying and doing a bunch of coke and drinking, and it was really fun, man. And I guess it was always, I never really left. I'd been doing side projects, and it just felt good to go out there and do one of our songs again. And so that then the tribute album came out, and they said, well, what'd you think about doing 3 shows, And I said, well, I think, I don't even know if, it'll go off again. But so after the first show, I mean, it went nuts. It was like the crowds were going just, 10 times crazier than they ever did with the first Possessed. And so it was fun. I was hooked back into it then, and we just started playing and touring,
What was the first show that you did when you came back? Was that at Wacken?
No, it was the Bestial Legion.
Oh, okay, yep.
And that's where I first met my guitarist now, Kelly. As he was with Pessimist opening up for us, and there was a bunch of bands and like 3 stages, and that was the first time I met Kelly. So it was a good thing. You know?
So it must have felt really good for you then, after a while, stepping back out or, getting back out on stage there.
It did, and it felt like, going back to my youth, and I even started partying really hard again at first.
Uh-oh, naughty.
And then, it was fun, but then, I was like, fuck this, I'm just gonna go back and do it right, because I'd always promised myself the first time that I went to Europe and toured the world that the next time I'd go around I'd do it, sober, where I could really get into the culture and just get more out of it. And I think maybe after going to college and stuff, you learn to really take in life, and enjoy yourself more, and so this time has been. I could say it's been really great both times, but this time around it's been really, probably better. I mean, it's a lot better, really. Sure. I like it a lot more.
Sure, you could accomplish a lot more, too, when you're sober and you know pretty much what you're doing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the first round of Possessed, I never even made $1 for any of the shows, because we had managers taking the money and all this, just stuff you didn't know when you're a kid, right. Then after, taking, economics and math classes and educating yourself. So it's better this time around because, people aren't taking advantage of you, and you're not a kid anymore.
Right. Okay, Jeff. So who's in the band now?
Right now, I got two. I got an amazing drummer. He was the drummer for Sadistic Intent, and he just, whenever we went our ways amicably, they wanted to pursue what they were doing more, and it was always. He came with me. He was like, I want to stick with you, Jeff, and he's an amazing drummer, Emilio Marquez. And he's also in Assassino and Coffin Text, and he's been in a whole bunch of bands, but he's an amazing drummer. So I got Emilio Marquez. I got Kelly McLaughlin, from Pessimist, and he was in Angel Corpse and a bunch of bands. And then I got the kid, which is the youngest guy, which is Daniel Gonzalez. His family's from Venezuela eventually, but he was in a band called Nail Shitter. But I think this is his real first professional band, which is amazing because you'd think he'd been playing his entire life. He's just a really great guitarist, phenomenal guitarist. And then I got Bobby Lips. I got Robert Cardenas, Bobby Cardenas on bass from Coffin Text, and he's been in a bunch of other bands, and he's a really great bass player.
Awesome. Now, are you guys doing any writing? I mean, you're probably always doing writing.
Yeah, I was just, today I'm going over a new song. I haven't titled it yet, but we're hoping to play it on this next tour, possibly. I'm not sure, though. But we have a few in the works, and we're writing an EP right now. Oh,
that's cool. I was just going to say, when are we going to be able to expect something from you guys? Are you going to release little teasers here and there? Or?
Well, yeah, we want to release it, or I'm not sure whether I want to sign or just do it on my own, you know, because, I want to stay faithful to the underground still,
Right.
And, I hate to say it, but since death metal first came out to now, it's become so corporatized, it's just not even funny.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's trying to make it's funny because everybody in the scene just assumes that the musician is supposed to make less than everybody else, and that's not how Possessed works. I'll do anything to make things right. Like I don't dig the way that that they got like a lot of pay to play, and people are even charging you up to 25% to sell your own merch in clubs, and there's just a lot of messed up stuff going on, and I just try to remain true to the underground and try to do things my own way, like I always have.
Now, hearing your lineup too, Jeff. You guys gonna write any Spanish metal songs there? Now
we have two kind of. Well, I mean a Mexican, but we have Kelly now, who's so it's not with Sadistic. Everybody was Mexican, but no, we're not. That's something that nothing planned in the future. At least, who knows? But no, we're going to stay true to the roots and have it, because I don't speak Spanish.
So Jeff, tell us a little bit about this year's tour and what's coming up for the band.
This year, well, we have kind of a three-pronged tour here, and the first part's going to be the Possessed European Seance 2013, and that we're going to hold on, I'll tell you a little bit about it here. I'll pull it up on my computer.
Oh, there you go.
We have some unconfirmed dates. I don't know if we're going to do the Greece dates, but we're going to fly into Frankfurt on the 15th of April, and then we're going to play. I'm going to rehearse in Bamberg a couple of days, and then I can't even say we're going to play the Keep It True festival in Germany in Lada, and then we're going to go to Dresden for the Skull Crusher festival. And we got a day off. Then we go to Paris to play the Glass Art, and then we go to Lens, France to Le Corion, and then Barcelona, Spain, and then we're going to go to Madrid, Spain.
Wow.
And for the Club Heineken, and then we're going to go to Valencia, to Rock City, and then the Barcelos, Portugal, the Barcelos Metal Festival. That one's going to be crazy cool. And then hold on a second, I'm looking at my schedule. Then we off day. Then we go to Bologna, Italy, and then Romagna, Italy. I don't know if I'm saying that right. And then we go to Switzerland, to Luzern, and then Allen, Germany, and then Belgium, and then the Netherlands, and then we have 2 shows in Greece. We're going to fly over to Greece.
Oh my God!
To end up the tour, and it's cool. We got a big old tour bus. I've actually never had a tour bus, so
wowee!
For me. I got a motorhome. But we got a 44-foot, it's all custom, like Mercedes silver.
Nice.
Kind of windows. So, like I say, I mean, it's still, a lot of this is still really new to me. I mean, a lot of people think of us as like some really established band, but I'm still doing new stuff every day, and it's fun, man. It's really, really fun.
So it's going to be a whole new experience for you over there with that nice shiny bus there. And
yeah, it's really cool. And then we're going to be with Malignant Tumor over there.
Oh, nice.
We're going to support, and then we'll come back, and then we'll have some time off, and then in August we're going to do the South American Seance. I won't go into that whole schedule.
Right.
That's going to be another long tour. And we won't have a bus. We'll be flying on the long ones, and no more than 3-hour van rides. And then we're going to come back and do the American Seance. And I'm setting that up now, which will be a shorter tour with just some choice gigs in there.
So you're going to be busy, to say the least.
Yeah, and I think we have some Mexico shows in the middle, and doing other shows here and there. And I'm going to try to keep the band busy.
There you go. Keep them all out of trouble, including yourself.
Yeah.
So, Jeff, where can people go to find out more about Possessed and what's currently going on with the band? What social media?
Well, we have a site, Kellyan's site, that's on Facebook, www.facebook.com/666Possessed. And that's it. Other than that, you'd have to Google stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's all you really need, because you got a million freaking tabs. You can check out your tours. What's going on. I love it. And it's free.
Great. Lord Cruzan ran our MySpace site. Space site. He still does. And I remember it was so great, but then what they do to it, it's all slow now.
I know, stinking MySpace screwed it all up for everybody. They start changing it all over. It sucked because the graphics and everything, it was quite a visual experience. You know what I mean?
You can do anything you want. You can have as many friends as you wanted.
Yeah.
And now you're limited your friends. And some people really do have more than 5,000 friends. And it sucks because I can't add anybody.
Yep. But you know what you could do now, Jeff? Because I have the same problem. You have that little follow button.
Yeah.
So if people try to add you as friends, now you just have to say, no, but you could feel free to follow me, and they can just click that.
They can do that?
Yes. Yeah, that's what I do, because I have over 5,000 friends, too. Yeah. Right next to the Friends tab up at the top there's a follow thing. And they could just click that and follow you just like anything else.
And great. So everybody follow me.
Yeah, everybody follow me. And
it'll just be the Facebook.com /Jeff Becerra, right?
Everybody go follow him. Click the little tab next to the Friends tab and follow him instead, because he can't accept you anymore because he's full.
Yeah, or you can make a like page, right?
Yeah, you can do that too. And I mean, I'm sure you probably have like fan pages and stuff, but I mean, the actual Possessed page, that's where people could go to find out your tours and everything. I mean, I go over there to your page too. I find out all my information too.
That's where I find it out too. No, I'm just kidding.
That's what you're reading off right now. Let me pull up my Facebook page to let you know where we're going.
Yeah. No, actually, I like going back to the vein of everybody taking your money when you're in a band, because a lot of I actually took over as a manager and agent and everything, because why not? I mean. Once you have some education and stuff, it's funny because you actually do use the stuff you learn in school.
Yep.
But anyway, I don't want to turn this into an after-school special.
But it's true. Now that you're educated in all that economics and all that kind of stuff, people can't take advantage of you. And plus, like you were saying earlier, Jeff, you're an adult now. It's so much easier when they're kids and these guys that are your age.
Yeah. That's why, because I'm writing a book right now. I'm gonna me and this guy C.K. Kasner, we're going to co-author a book, and he's going to help me write it because I'm not a professional writer. So, but I'm going to, I want to do a section on, like, a lot of kids now. What you hear and say is like, what do you want to get out of the band? They're like, well, I want to get a booking agent, I want to get on a minor label, I want to hire a manager, and you feel like saying, why? And they're like, well, that's what everybody else does. And I'm like, you got to realize those people will take all your money, and try to control you. And, and a lot of those people have more than just your band in mind. So while they're scratching everybody's belly, it's going to take out of your worth and what you get. And it's, you really got to think those, you should really make educated decisions on that kind of thing instead of just signing the paper and having basically 99.9% of your wealth taken away.
That's true. So there's some words of advice for people that are up and coming in bands. It's a good piece of advice there, because it is true, like you said, they get so excited and they're like, yeah, we got a manager, we got all this stuff, and then all of a sudden, when they want to get paid and they're not getting paid.
Yeah. Well, all you need now, because they got the internet now, is, and because a lot of this stuff is digital media, is you need all you need is good PR, good promotion, and maybe a distro, because what they do is they charge you, these minor labels will charge you an exorbitant amount to record in one of their studios with their mixing people, and they'll charge you up the wazoo when it probably only costs them a fraction of that.
Right.
And then you have to slave and make that money back for them, and then they'll take out of your merchandise. They'll take they'll grab a piece of every piece of the pie,
So it's true. That's true. So really, if you were to do it by yourself, the most expensive part would be actually pressing the CDs and the distro.
Not even that so much. What you want to do is just get good promotion. I mean, because you can run that off. You can run off your own CDs. It's just a matter of being able to where to distribute them, and a lot. But like I said, a lot of it is digital now, and so I mean. Now it's gotten to the point where after the iPod and everything like that it's really a whole different ball game.
It is, but it
used to be about the product, about the album, and that's why I like to stick and do underground stuff and do with real record labels, like we did the reanimation, me and Will on Red Rum. We did the Possessed reanimation with a lot of the old stuff, the demos, and it's like a DVD, CD thing. And so it's fun to work with Will because he's like honest. He pays you, and he does his. He actually works for the bands and does the best job.
It's
nice.
nice.
You can't say that without a lot of people.
It's nice when they pay you, Jeff.
Well, I mean, we're talking about just
I know
little amounts of money, but it's your money that you made, and even you see a real profit off of a real product.
That's true. And then there's people like Lord Cruson that do CD art for nominal prices.
Yeah. Lord Cruson, he is awesome.
It's awesome.
He reminds me of Jose Canseco, the Jose Canseco of metal.
He might be a little bit nicer, less an asshole than Jose Canseco. Most of the time. All right, Jeff. Hey, I'm going to let you get going. Hang on the line for 1 second. Thank you so much for taking the time out to do this with us here tonight at Metal Messiah Radio.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jet. And it's over already? No, I'm just kidding. that was cool. That was fun. Thank you.
Okay. Hold on. Hold on a sec.